Hello, welcome to today's palming party. This is our fifth palming party, and just a heads up, I'm actually not in my normal studio. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts right now. So hopefully everything works well in terms of the internet and Wi-Fi and everything like that. So I'm excited that you're here. We are going to be having some palming experiences together. The way these palming parties works. Hey, Petra, welcome. More people are showing up. So the way these palming parties work is we are going to pretty quickly get into our comfortable palming position, which I'll kind of guide you into. And the purpose of this is actually to get a longer palming session in under our belts. Sometimes we palm, but just for short periods of time. So hopefully we're going to give you an experience of actually 15 or 20 or maybe even 30 minutes of palming. And I'm going to be leading you through a guided visualization as well, which can really enhance the effects of the palming. The primary goal or the primary effect I think we're going for today is relaxation. And we're talking about relaxation of your eyes and relaxation of the mind. So the palming can really help you relax your eyes physically. And then hopefully the visualization will create a little bit of relaxation mentally. And after our palming session, I'm going to be sticking around for a little bit of Q&A. So some of you are already typing into the chat some questions. So you're welcome to do that before we start or as we go. Or I would really encourage you to just focus on your palming and relaxation, and then we can deal with the questions at the end. So I am sitting at a desk here. The important thing about palming is that you are supported so that your shoulders and your neck and your posture isn't affected. So not only am I sitting at this desk here, but I also have a pillow that I'm resting right on the desk so that it's going to prop my elbows up a little bit higher, so that my palms are already just right here, right in position to cover my eyes. If the pillow was not there, I would have to kind of lean forward a little bit, which isn't the end of the world, but anything you can do to lift yourself up so you can have a more upright position, whatever's comfortable though. Maybe you want to be lying down on your back. Whatever position you choose, you want to just make sure that you're supported. And I will be giving you a couple little breaks go. So it's not like you have to just stay like this the whole time. I'm going to guide you through of how you can take one hand off and kind of stretch and move and things like that. But at any point, even before I prompt you to do that, you're welcome to come out of palming or just let your arms kind of relax and rest. But I do encourage you, if you do take your palms off your face, to keep your eyes closed, because there's really some special things that can happen when we keep them closed for extended periods, and we just feel more and more rested and relaxed. So, seeing more questions coming in and more people joining. So, like I said, I'll be answering some questions toward the end, and really happy to see some of you here. But since we're just past the top of the hour, I would love to actually go on into our palming. And so if you can go ahead and there's just a couple things you need. Like I said, the pillow or a desk. The other thing you need is clean hands. So if you haven't washed your hands or sanitized your hands in a little bit, you might want to take this moment before we place them on the face for an extended period of time to make sure they're clean. So I just washed my hands right before we started. So if you need to do that, or maybe you want to hydrate a little bit before we get started, because like I said, we're going to be palming together for about 15, 20 minutes. Hey, Fabrizio, glad you're here. And yeah, I'm seeing Giant type in lots of questions about floaters and things like that. And my main suggestion is for you to relax and to palm with us right now, because that's going to help with exactly what you're asking about. But we'll be able to get a little bit more into it afterwards. So everyone can take some time to make sure you're all set up. Some people like to rub their hands together before doing the palming to generate some heat and some friction. And we want to cup them. It's not about putting any kind of pressure on the eyes. You want to leave space so that your eyes can be open or blink or move around, or they can just close. And even if your eyelids are closed while you're palming, you can still invite them to be free to move around. Because as we visualize things, I'm going to encourage you to feel the movement that happens in your eyes. We don't want to just stare while we palm. So getting into your comfortable supported palming posture. Your palms are here to block the light. So I am opening my eyes right now and looking around in a circle to see if there's any light leaking through. And I saw some up towards the bridge of my nose. So I'm lifting my eyebrows and I'm repositioning my palms a little bit to completely seal the eyes off from any light. There's still some coming in around the edges. So I'm just going to see what I can do to position my hands. Everyone's a little different. Everyone's anatomy and bone structure and everything in their face. So even if you don't get 100% seal, that's okay. You can just close your eyes, which will hopefully make it just a little bit darker. And we're going to just relax into the darkness. There may still be some after images of light or color or shape, depending on what your eyes have been up to already today. Maybe your optic nerves are still kind of buzzing with activity. So sometimes it takes a few moments or even minutes for you to really sink into this deeper, darker kind of place. So this might be a great opportunity to tune in with your breath. And what that means is you can either just pay attention to how you are already breathing without kind of changing it, or maybe you feel inclined to change it or deepen it. I generally like to see if I can extend my exhales a little bit longer each time. With your palms, you don't want to be blocking your nasal passage. You want to be able to breathe in and out through your nose. That's why my hands are kind of at an angle and they're not just pointing up vertically towards the ceiling. I'm creating this kind of upside down V shape so that I can breathe without any kind of blockages. So this part of palming is really kind of the more physical part. You're kind of checking in with your hands and your face and the light and your breath, making sure your shoulders are relaxing down. There's not any kind of compression in your upper cervical spine. Maybe you can tune into how your gut is feeling, if you can relax your belly a little bit. So before we go into any kind of inner vision or visualization, I think it's really nice to just take a moment to start on the physical level and let that kind of calm down and let the relaxation start to make its way into your eyes and into your mind. And maybe even at this point, even just at the beginning of the palming party, you may already need a quick little break or a little readjustment. So like I said, just always be nice and comfortable. I'm doing okay so far. My wrists, my hands, my elbows, my shoulders are feeling fine. So I'm going to keep on going. And I'd like to bring us into the more subtle level, which is the mental level, or the visualization aspect. And today is the Spring Equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, first day of spring. So we're officially out of winter and we're moving into a new season. And a lot of time, this is the kind of the time of year where people might start not only seeing more growth in nature, plants and leaves and trees, but a lot of people also start their gardens in late winter or early spring. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of mental gardening today. So if you want to go ahead and begin to switch from your physical to the mental, all right? So don't get caught up on what you're physically seeing. Hopefully you're seeing nothing because there's no light coming into your eyes. There's nothing to physically see. But what about your mind's eye? What about that part of your mind that sees things when you sleep and you dream? Or if you get into a deep meditation or even just, a little bit of daydreaming, you may actually get a sense that you're, quote, seeing something even though your eyes are closed. But I don't want you to force it because that's just straining, right? So this is all about relaxation. The mental pictures come when you relax. So I'm going to invite you to follow my voice without any kind of judgment or expectation of what you're experiencing, because if I'm describing a garden and you're not physically seeing a garden, you might be stressing out about, oh, am I doing this wrong? This isn't working for me. Something's not happening. I just want you to follow my voice and just keep on focusing on your breathing and your relaxing. And at some point, you may experience a little flash of clarity in your mind, a little mental picture, or maybe it's not visual. Maybe your other senses come in. So this can be a multisensory experience. And we're going to move into our garden. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your garden to maybe help you clarify the picture. So, what kind of garden are you in right now? Is it an outdoor garden out in a big field? Is it an indoor garden, maybe in a sunny room and inside? Is it a vegetable garden? Are there different kinds of foods growing? Is it a flower garden? Different kinds of beautiful flowers and petals and colors? Maybe it's a rock garden or a cactus garden with interesting rocks, pebbles, and succulents and cacti with sharp, prickly spines. Or maybe your garden has a little bit of everything. It's got different sections. Maybe there's a little section for bonsai trees or Japanese maples. And is this your garden or is it a community garden? Are there other gardeners in your garden? Maybe you have certain characters from your life, people that you associate with gardening or people who love to be out getting their hands dirty. Maybe a family member or a friend from your past or your present. So you're just kind of setting the scene a little bit. And it's, once again, there may be some visual elements, but there may not be. And it's more of just a memory or a feeling of being in a garden, being surrounded by plants. I don't know about you, but I'm personally barefoot right now. And so I'm also picturing walking through the rows of my garden without wearing shoes and just feeling that cool soil on my feet, bottoms of my feet. And it feels very grounding and very calming to be connected to the earth and feeling that direct contact with the soil or the grass or whatever. Or maybe if you're walking through the pebble garden, you can feel those smooth pebbles on your feet. So let's get to work. We realize that there's a row in the garden that is being overtaken by weeds. And we've got some precious plants in there that we really want to grow, but the weeds are crowding them out and taking their nutrients. So let's pull some weeds. Let's pull some mental weeds. So if you reach down and you grab the weed by the base where it comes out of the ground, you don't want to just cut it in half there, because then the roots will still be implanted and it'll just grow right back. So you want to uproot the entire weed. So you may even reach down a little bit into the soil and lift it up out of the ground, and it pulls up this bed of roots with some dirt still clinging to it, and you shake it around and the dirt flies off, and it exposes these raw roots that are very aromatic. And maybe you give it a sniff, and then you toss it away and you pick the next weed. Weeding is one of the more, complainable. People complain a lot about having to do that in actual gardening, because sometimes it hurts your back. You have to bend over, or it's just hard work. But this is just imaginary, so you can make it easy and fun. And maybe you can just focus on the gratifying and satisfying aspect of cleaning up that row, pulling up all those weeds, and just seeing the more sort of pristine, clean, organized row. And now those original plants seem to be happier, and they seem to start growing faster and healthier because they've got enough space in their roots, and they can draw up the nutrients they need from the soil. So why don't you just give them a little water now that you've cleared the row out of the weeds. Instead of watering the weeds to keep on growing, you're watering the actual plants. And so when you water it, the soil gets nice and wet and dark. And you can just imagine, you can almost feel those plants just drawing that moisture in through the roots and sending it up through the stalk, nourishing that plant. So there's one more thing that we can do in our mental gardens today, but before we do, let's take our quick break where you keep your eyes closed, but you're going to lift one palm off of your face, and you're going to move that hand around. So maybe open and close your fingers to make a fist, and then make a open palm. Maybe you can do some wrist rolls. So you're doing some circles with your wrist. Maybe you want to reach your arm up towards the ceiling or towards the sky. So you kind of straighten out the elbow and relieve that shoulder a little bit. Maybe you want to do a big arm circle or whatever you want to bring some circulation and energy into that side. And when that arm feels like it's gotten a little bit of a break, you can place it back over your eye and do the other side. So opening and closing the fist on your other hand. And my hands are already like clammy, right? That's one of the things about palming, is it generates heat and warmth. It's not just the darkness. Something about that warmth really seems to relax those tight eye muscles and really bring a lot more relaxation and circulation into your face. So once your other arm and elbow and shoulder and fingers and wrist have gotten a little bit of a break and stretch, you're just going to make your way right back into your palming position, supported by your elbows. And even though your eyes were closed during the break, they probably still got some light through the closed eyelids. So you might want to give those optic nerves another minute or two to settle back down into the darkness. Maybe you want to check and see if there's any light leaks and make any adjustments you need. Before we make our way back into our mental gardens on this beautiful spring day, with the sun shining and a brilliant blue sky with some clouds scattered about. And your attention gets drawn to a new row in your garden that has not been planted yet. It's ready to be planted. So you make your way over with your watering can, and in your pocket, you've got some seeds. So you reach down into your pocket and you pull out a handful of these beautiful seeds. You make a little hole in the ground. You place one seed into that hole, cover it up with some fresh soil, and water it. And then you make your way not too far from that first one. You're going up the row here, so you make your second hole. You place the seed in, cover it with dirt, cover it with water. And how many plants do you want to plant right now? How many seeds do you want to put into the ground? And do you know what kind of seeds they are? What do you want to grow? So once you've planted your seeds, we're going to kind of press fast forward on time here and imagine that it's the next day and you're going back out and you're watering your seeds, but they're still underground. But you know where they are. And then it's the next day, you go back out and you water, and this continues. Each day you add more water, they get more sunshine. But on the surface, it does not look like there's that much going on. But you know that beneath the surface, the seed is sprouting. The roots are reaching down. And you know it's just a matter of time before something pokes up out of the ground and starts to grow up through the air towards the sun, reaching up against gravity. But you can't see it quite yet because it's still a seed. Now, not all the seeds are going to produce plants. They're not all going to do what we expect. So there's a little bit of an unknown there. You don't know if the seed is going to grow or not. But you keep watering it. You keep nurturing it. Because even though that's an unknown, there is something that is known, which is that you know exactly what will happen if you don't water it. It definitely won't grow. So you at least know that if you don't water it, it won't grow. And you know that if you do water it, it might grow. So might as well keep on watering. And then maybe you fast forward to the day where it just starts to poke through the soil and you see those little baby leaves coming out. Maybe you want to fast forward to when it's an even bigger plant, more established, taller, healthier, more robust. Or maybe you want to fast forward to its full fruition, its optimal state. So we're going to prepare to leave our gardens for now. So if you want to just take a moment to enjoy your final moments in your mental garden. And we are going to slowly transition out of palming, which we want to be very gentle with, meaning we want to keep the eyes closed as we slowly peel the palms away from the face to allow the light to start to enter through the closed eyelids. So you want to definitely take your time and adjust back to the ambient light. And when you feel readjusted, you can start to gently blink your eyes back open. And I think it's a wonderful idea to get sort of an immediate, checkpoint with yourself, whether we're talking about physically, so how your eyes physically feel. My eyes feel very warm and very fluid, like they're moving. They've been like lubricated. But you also want to check in with maybe how you're seeing. So the quality of your eyesight. So, distance, up close, the screen. We didn't do a complete check-in before palming. Sometimes it's nice before you go into it to kind of gauge how you're seeing, and then you come out of seeing or out of palming, and you may notice an improvement. It may get a little sharper, a little more colorful, but not always. Sometimes you come out and it seems kind of the same, or sometimes it may even be a little fuzzy at first, if this is kind of a new practice for you. But hopefully you sort of got where I was going with that, with this analogy of our mental gardens and planting certain seeds and cultivating them and nourishing them and caring for them as they grow slowly. That can represent your goals in life, including your vision goals in terms of improving your vision naturally. But really it can apply to any sort of long-term goal that you're interested in working with or inviting into your life. And I really believe that the natural vision goal is one of the trickier ones because it sometimes takes longer to sprout and to actually have something to show for it. So you're doing your daily practices, you're doing your palming, and you look at the ground and there's still no plant coming up, and it can be discouraging if you're like, well, I've been watering it, I've been caring for it, and it's still not here, it's not happening. But we have to know that beneath the surface, there is a lot happening. And if we stop doing the palming, it's like stopping watering that little seed. So whether or not you're seeing the plant or you're getting these big results right away, it's so important to really be sticking with your regular practice and putting the time and energy into caring for your eyes and your vision. Or, like I said, this can apply to any other goal in your life that can sort of seem in that similar way. So feel free to chime in the comments if you have any feedback about your experience during our palming party, during the visualization. If you want to share anything about your garden, or if you have any feedback about the effects of the practice. So whether it's physically, what it did to your vision or your eyesight, or maybe mentally, maybe it gave you an experience of mental relaxation. So speaking of the comments, I'm going to transition into our Q&A section. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being here and palming together. These palming parties are a lot of fun for me. Just so you know, I'm going to be doing them on the equinoxes and solstices this year. So after today's, we're going to be having our next one on the summer solstice in June, and then we're going to have our next one in the autumnal equinox, and then we're going to finish up the year with the winter solstice in December. So love to have you back again. Okay, cool. So first question I would love to address Jayant here. Hopefully you were able to find a little bit of calm and relaxation during that practice. Because the main question you've asked multiple times is, how can I deal with after images, floaters, blue entropic phenomena, high astigmatism, and starburst? So first simple answer is I want you to palm. Like I said, hopefully you palmed with us and you visualized, because the one thing that all those things have in common is the strain, and not only the physical strain, right? The high astigmatism can be from strain, changing the shape of the eyeball and affecting the shape of the cornea, which contributes to those starburst effects and kind of the astigmatic images where you might see multiple images or shadow images or ghost images. And so relaxation is the starting point. We really need to relax not just the physical eye muscles to see what we can do to actually get the cornea to receive light in a more balanced way, but we also want to take a look at the mental side as well, because specifically things like the after images, Dr. Bates talked a lot about that being connected with mental strain. And today we did palming, which is the darkness. You're going into the dark. But another big aspect of the vision healing is the light therapy and the palming or the sunning practice. And when you go out in the sun and you close your eyes and you swing through the light, even if your eyes are closed, you might, if you're supposed to palm after you sun, so you palm and block the light, you might see some after images of the sun or the light. And Dr. Bates used to say that some people would do the sunning. Let's say two people did the sunning practice. One person has a lot of mental strain. The other person has a lot of mental relaxation. They both get after images, right? Because they're doing the same practice. The light comes in and hits the retina, and then the eyes are closed, and then you see the after image. What Bates found was that the people with the mental relaxation, those after images faded away almost instantaneously. So they would actually diminish, and it would get nice and dark and black. Whereas the person with the mental strain, those after images would last for multiple seconds, minutes, or even hours or longer, because of the mental strain, the fear, the panic, the worry. Oh no, what is that? And then the mind focuses on that and it kind of keeps it there. Whereas the mental relaxation person is like, oh, this is a part of the practice. I'm seeing the after image and I'm relaxing and letting it go. It's okay. And then sure enough, you sink into this deeper, darker place. So it's kind of both. We've got this physical aspect, and then it's about, what is the mind, how does the mind respond to that? That's why I love the Bates method so much, is because it's so subtle and nuanced. It's not just about the physical. It's about, well, how is the mind interpreting this light and dealing with the eyesight and the vision? So yes, with all of the things you listed there, I would say the relaxation trifecta, which I call the swinging, sunning, and palming. So it's a trifecta. There's these three practices: swinging, sunning, palming. We did the palming today for our palming party. I just talked about the sunning as a really nice counterpart of the palming. So you got the light therapy. And then we've also got the swinging, which is the movement-based practice, which is critical for all vision problems. Most vision problems involve staring and a lack of mobility and movement of not just the eye organs, so the lack of movement and shifting in the eyes themselves, but once again, coming to the mental level, there's a lot of times this mental stare or a lack of movement in the mind, and then we get stuck on things mentally. So that would be my main suggestion for you, is to every single day really prioritize doing your relaxation trifecta. Like right when you wake up in the morning, get out of bed, do some swinging. If you've got the sun available, you step outside or go to the window, you do your sunning and your palming, and you can repeat just that. Maybe you do one trifecta in the morning, one trifecta in the afternoon, another one before the sun sets, and then maybe before bed, you just do the swinging and the palming, because you don't really want to do the sunning right before bed. But yeah, that would be, if I were you, that's what I would start with, and really focus on, look at that trifecta as watering the seed, right? So that's how you water it, is by doing those regular daily practices. Petra said, palming together is the best. I agree. Palming by yourself, it's a very personal practice, right? It's like, I can't see anything. I can't see anybody. But just to know that we're all doing this together at the same time is really powerful. That's why I love doing these palming parties, because it's not just the Bates method or the palming. I think any kind of practice, meditation, yoga, qigong, tai chi, dance, any kind of thing like this, it really, when you do it in a group, it kind of amplifies and multiplies the good energy. So really glad you could be here today. Hearts of Goldenrod was asking, how long is this? So just for future reference, since we've already done it, generally I shoot for about like 15 or 20 minutes of guided palming visualizing, and then another 15 or 20 minutes of Q&A. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer depending on the questions. So, but yeah, in an ideal world, I'm kind of shooting for, an hour or less, so that you can get your palming practice under your belt and then get on with your day. Okay, so let's see. The Tao of Badass said, can palming be done sleeping? Well, like I said at the beginning, you can definitely lie down on your back and do this. I did it seated at the desk today, which to me is, it kind of prevents the sleep, right? Since palming is so relaxing, sometimes people do kind of start to drift off or kind of get into that sort of in-between state between asleep and awake, which is a good thing, I think, if you kind of play with that line a little bit. But what the Bates method is not just teaching us passive relaxation, where we just get so relaxed that we just pass out. We're working with dynamic relaxation, which is, how do we relax our eyes while we're sitting up, while we're talking to people, while we're on the computer, right? It's not just helpful to learn how to relax when you're sleeping or when you're lying on your back, but it's crucial to learn how to relax when you're living your life and your eyes are open, you're seeing. So yes, you definitely can get super comfortable and maybe even, take a little nap from palming. Generally, you need that if that happens. But I would also encourage you to explore the more sort of energized palming, like the energized relaxation, where you're very alert and attentive and relaxed. Because a lot of people associate alert and attentiveness to strain or tension. So we're kind of learning how to relax while using our eyes and our minds and our bodies. let's see here. BMIN said, do kids need the 20/20 vision during development years, whereas reduced prescription does not provide the required clarity as per the ophthalmologists? Yes, when we think about children, vision development, I think, yeah, there is something important about making sure that the light is hitting the retina correctly and stimulating the brain in that way. And sometimes that means using certain artificial lenses. Sometimes if kids, it's not a visual acuity thing, maybe it's more of a strabismus or amblyopia, like an alignment thing. Sometimes, prisms are used to kind of stimulate that eye to get it online. But, keep in mind, kids and children, they're developing physically, mentally, emotionally. So, we do want to still give them some freedom to grow and develop, maybe without the artificial lenses as well. It all depends on the prescription and the age, so many different factors there. But, part of your question there is about the under-corrected training glasses, where sometimes they're correcting your eyesight to 20/40 instead of 20/20, which I guess maybe your question is like, is that going to maybe like affect negatively the child's vision development? So, I like it when people have both their full strength prescription and their training glasses, so that they have freedom and flexibility to say, hey, I need the full strength right now, or versus, hey, I don't need the full strength right now, I'll put on the weaker pair. So I don't think it's just an all or nothing kind of thing. I like it when people have the options, and then also have the option to just take them off and experience the naked eye. And for kids, it's really nice to invite them to try playing some of their games without glasses, or going outside and not having them try and squint and force the vision to clear. Remember, we're learning this dynamic relaxation. How do we get the eyes to see that 20/20 vision in a relaxed state without any kind of strain? So, but yeah, it definitely depends on lots of different factors: the age, the prescription, what's going on with the vision. All right, let's make our way down here. Hearts of Goldenrod said, I asked a question on your centralizing video. Also, since I started a couple of weeks, my vision seems more blurry. Any help with this? Yes. Interestingly, some people report that when they start going into the vision training, it seems like their vision even gets a little worse temporarily. And so sometimes we look at our vision as biofeedback. So for the most part, that could be feedback that maybe you're straining, or you're trying too hard, or you're not, relaxing to the degree that is necessary to get the improvements. So I want you to really keep looking at your results as kind of information about, oh, maybe I'm going down the wrong track here, especially with like the centralizing. That can be a really tricky topic for some people, and they end up staring and trying to force their central vision to clear up, and then it just makes it worse. So I would really, keep on making sure that you're understanding the central fixation correctly, and really all the Bates principles correctly, which requires, just either some self-study or maybe even some more, coaching and things like that. But what I experienced was that I started the Bates method. I was taking my glasses off more and more, and it seemed like my eyes were more strained than before I started it. And I realized that it actually wasn't because of the Bates method, and it wasn't even really because I was doing it wrong. It was actually because I was now becoming aware of my vision more so than I ever had before in my whole life. And I was paying more attention to my eyes. And so before I started the Bates method, I was pretty much ignoring them, and kind of, sometimes I say that they were numb. My eyes were numb. I couldn't really feel them or notice any kind of strain up there. I didn't feel like I had eye strain. But then when I started learning about the Bates method, I actually understood what the strain was and how it felt. And I realized, oh my gosh, like I've been carrying this around for years and years and years. So when you start the practice, it might seem like things are getting worse, but sometimes it's actually you're paying attention to how it's been, and then that's your kind of starting point. You kind of grow from there. But yeah, I will also take a look back through the comments on some of the other videos and the centralizing one, and see if there's another specific one I can help you out with over there. Okay, so Ibex says, hey, Nathan, would palming improve vision without visualization and imagination, or is it necessary? Yeah, I think it totally can work even without the specific visualizations and imagination, just purely based on how good it feels to close your eyes, rest your eyes, get some darkness, get some heat and warmth in there. So you can definitely still get some benefits and improvements. But the reason why I am so adamant about getting people visualizing is because it's so much more effective and efficient, and it's like the shortcut, right? So to me, the physical aspect, that's the slow road. That's going to take a while. But when you start to tune into the memory and the imagination and the visualization, like Dr. Bates really encouraged us to, that's when some interesting things start happening, and you actually start to get more clear flashes, and it seems like you're making these more sort of quantum leaps, you're kind of going beyond that kind of linear progression where if you're just doing the physical exercises and practices, it's more kind of like, one brick at a time, versus the memory and imagination and visualization. It's like the elevator that just takes you up to a whole new level, a whole new floor. So, yeah, definitely encourage you to really invest your energy and attention into developing that for yourself as well. Petra chimed in, still having a hard time sitting more than 15 minutes in a row. So yeah, hopefully, by taking those little breaks, or, just doing, spacing it out a little bit more, you can still kind of get to those numbers by the end of your day. But yeah, I doubt you're the only one who has a little bit of a hard time with that as well. Oh, nice. Hearts of Goldenrod said, I love your garden visualization practice. I've been learning about mental gardening, but never thought to make a visualization on it. So kind of building off of that last question about, is it really important to do the visualization piece? And I think that you're pointing out that, you had already been kind of aware of this concept and you've already been working on it. But now adding in this visual piece while you palm, it kind of brings it to this new level and gives you a new experience with it. So, and then Ibeck also chimed in and said, can you palm too much? And for the most part, the answer to that is no. You also said, wouldn't it be bad for your eyes if they are in the dark too long without light? So, with anything, there's always an overdoing, but there's always that popular story from Dr. Bates's writings about the man who palmed for 20 hours straight, and when he came out of it, his refractive errors were no longer. So that was always an example of when you probably can't palm too long. I mean, I doubt anybody has palmed that long here or will palm that long. I've never done it. But so yeah, yes, you're right. There is probably a point where it's too much, and you don't want to be excluding your eyes and your brain from light for a super long time. But it is also a practice in various traditions to like sensory deprivation as a way to work on different mental things. So actually, just recently, there's a guy out there named Aubrey Marcus. He put out a documentary about him spending, I think it was 7 or 10 days in darkness, complete darkness, covered up eyes, no light for like 7 to 10 days. And it can be not only not bad for you, but it can be quite transformative and really enlightening, which is ironic because there's no light. So yeah, it's a good question. And for the most part, like we did today, 15 minutes of palming, nothing to worry about. I mean, that's very much needed. It's like you shut your computer down, you restart your hard drive, right? Otherwise your computer crashes and starts messing up, right? Oh, what's the fix? Have you restarted it? Have you unplugged it and plugged it back in? That's what palming does. If we just live our lives and we never take that moment to just shut down, turn the light off, and actually kind of reset, all kinds of stuff can kind of go wrong. So I would encourage you to feel it out for yourself and really find out what is a good frequency and duration and everything. Petra's asking, what would be the metaphor of clear flashes in terms of gardening, like a seed who plops out of the ground all of a sudden? When I was mentioning clear flashes and visualizing, I was actually referring on a more sort of literal level where maybe someone was in the palming in the dark and not really having much inner vision or visualization. And just like when we practice the Bates method with the eyes open and we have blurry vision, and then all of a sudden we relax and it's clear vision. That's what I was sort of insinuating with on the mental level, where you might be palming and it's either kind of a blurry image or there isn't really much of an image there. And then you relax enough to get that flash of a picture where you actually see the garden or you see the seed or the plant or whatever it is. So, but yeah, I like how you're kind of, figuring out for yourself of like, what does this mean to me and how will this show up in my visualization? Hearts of Goldenrod also said, I found sunning to be like a massage for my eyes. Such a wonderful experience. I was just doing some sunning right before our palming party today, and I fully agree with you. It really is one of the most, it's like my favorite thing to do. It's something I do as much as possible, pretty much every day. So yeah, definitely keep that light shining. BMIN said, how can I help myself through vitreous detachment? How long may the lights in the peripheral vision and corner of the eyes last? So yeah, definitely these gentle, restorative, relaxation-based practices. Anytime there's a detachment or something like that, you want to be a little bit more mindful. With your swinging and the sunning and the palming, the trifecta. You just want to kind of add in that extra little ounce of gentleness and making sure you're never really straining or forcing anything. So yeah, definitely sticking with the basics and really just showing up for yourself every day and giving your eyes the TLC. I'm glad it was a surprise for you, vacation mode. Glad you could be here. Nice emojis there of all your flowers and your sun. Maybe those were in your garden. Thank you, Evelyn. Very nice words there. Glad you found the channel and really happy to hear that you are getting some nice benefits from it. Oh, I like what you said there, Petra. Sunning and palming are like twins. They are equal, important, and nourishing. Yeah, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin. You definitely want them both. Don't want one without the other. All right, making our way through. Got a few more minutes so that I can hang out with you. Right. Hey, Olgi. All right, another question coming in. During this palming session, at a certain point, I saw a small dot of light, not real light, and veins from my eyes or eyelids. Is that dot an image of the optic nerve? So I like people to kind of differentiate between eyesight and insight. So eyesight is what your eye organs are literally perceiving. And when you're palming, they're not perceiving much unless there is some light leaking through, which is still going to stimulate your optic nerve. So that would be sort of the physical explanation. But there's that whole other side of it, the insight, which is what has nothing to do with your eyeballs or your optic nerves or any of that, or veins or anything. It's just what your mind is thinking of and coming up with those pictures. So it could be either. It could be a physical manifestation of, your brain is perceiving some really subtle stuff when you palm. But it might also be your visualization kind of coming online. Sometimes people describe it that way, where they're in the dark and then all of a sudden there's a little light in the middle or a little opening, and it slowly starts to grow and get bigger. And that kind of becomes your your visualization window that you kind of see. So yeah, not totally sure, but I think the more you practice, the more you will get clear on it for yourself as well. Hey, Helena. Glad you could be here. Hope you're doing well. Titus is just chiming in there about losing some money recently and losing some faith. So I really do think that some of these vision practices and even palming and visualizing can sometimes be a nice little anchor, or like a little just something to kind of focus your mind on, hopefully with a little bit of positivity in there as well. I think that these practices are really helpful to get us through those times of stress and when there's a lot of unknowns about the future. So just think about the topic today of, planting seeds for the future, even if in the present moment, things aren't going your way, or you're not exactly sure what's going to happen. And we can't predict the future or see the future, but we can kind of visualize it and just spend some time bringing some relaxation into it. Let's see. Monak Riplani says, does palming before eye test, will it give better results? What time is best for the eye test? Early morning? Yeah, I always palm my eyes before eye exams. I'll sit in my car in the parking lot and just palm my eyes, rest my elbows on my steering wheel. And I think it's really smart to make sure that you're bringing that relaxation into the eye exam, because that's one of the hardest places to relax, is when there's a doctor testing your eyesight in an exam room. And yeah, I personally tend to schedule my eye exams earlier in the day, because me personally, it just feels like I'm kind of more, energized and refreshed at the start of the day. But some people might do it differently. They might feel like they want to do it in the middle of the day or later on. So it's going to be different for everyone. But no matter when you go or how often you go, I think it's really smart to prepare and practice for your eye exam. Do it at home. Have your eye chart up on your wall. Go through the motions and see where you get stressed or triggered. And when you start to stare and try too hard and you say, oops, I'm doing it wrong, I need to relax, and I need to swing and move and blink and breathe. And so the more you do it at home, the easier it gets when you're actually there at the office. Let's see. So yeah, Giant also chiming in about what you're seeing during the palming, right? So the green dots, white dots. So you want to differentiate, are those physical phenomenon or are they mental phenomenon? And Dr. Bates used to always just say, hey, if you're seeing colors and lights when you palm, it's coming from your mind, because there's no light coming in through your eyes. And so if you realize that those dots and those colors are a product of your mind and your imagination, then you can create your own imagination, like the garden we did today, that you sort of direct it in a different direction. Hey, Wanda, saying thank you, Nathan, for this expert gardener palming party. Yes, absolutely. Glad you enjoyed and glad you could be here. Suzanne's asking, can you sun indoors through the window if you can't go outside? So still natural light, just through glass. Yep, you absolutely can. Just know that that glass is going to filter out some of the light frequencies, so it's not going to be exactly the same, but it still feels really nice, and especially if it's nice and warm and bright. But if possible, open that window up. Don't have any glass in between you and the sun to get the best results. But if the window doesn't open, or if it's just more convenient to get it through the glass, that's okay. Okay, let's see here. Olgi saying, you've just talked about the positive sides of dynamic relaxation. While being alert and attentive, I get tired very easily. Do you have any suggestions why this could be? Yeah, so it's this whole concept that we associate alertness, attentiveness, focus with strain and work, and it's exhausting our energy. And I used to think that about my eyes too. It's like the longer I read or the longer I'm on the computer, the worse my vision gets and the more tired I get. And that was just because I was straining. So it's usually not the activity itself or the computer itself or the book itself or the activity that you're alert and attentive to itself that's causing that tiredness. It's usually the strain that you're doing while you're performing that activity that's causing that effect. So if you can invite the dynamic relaxation in more and more, you start to realize that, wait a minute, I'm using my eyes correctly, which is enabling me to do this activity without feeling so tired. But especially if you're doing it without glasses at first, you can definitely feel that like exhaustion coming in. So once again, use it as feedback, biofeedback. If you're ending up getting tired easily, that's just a sign that you're probably still straining. Petra also chimed in there about the sunning through the window question about using a sun light, like a lamp, incandescent light bulb, halogen light bulb, full spectrum light bulb. There are certain, nice lights you can use indoors for supplementing it. Nothing beats the sun though. Nice. Divyansh says the misconception about focusing on a task is it is straining and tiring, but that's not true. We, at our painting classes, teach students to be totally relaxed while sketching others' faces for hours. Wonderful example. I love when other areas like art, painting, drawing, other activities, they kind of share a lot in common with the vision work. And yeah, there's a lot you can learn about other skills that you develop, like painting, and then apply it to your eyes and your vision, and you might get similar kind of cool results. So yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. You could either be sketching others' faces for hours and feel like exhausted, and it's because you're straining while doing it, versus, how can I relax while doing it? And you can almost do it like indefinitely, meaning you could just keep going and going and going, and you're stopping because of the time or because of some other factor, and not because you're out of energy. Cool. So we are just over the top of the hour, so I'm going to be closing up the palming party here in just a moment. Let's see if there's any last minute things. Parth is saying, I have -4 myopia. In how much time can I get it to -2.5 if I follow you precisely? So there's not necessarily like an equation of like number of diopters and number of time. But, essentially you're asking about how long will it take me to cut my prescription in half, right? From about like -4 to like -2. So I think that you're kind of on the right track there. Instead of just thinking about like how long will it take for me to get to 20/20 vision or like to get completely off my glasses, I think that you're setting a more intermediate goal, which is great, because it's like, and you might even want to set one at -3 as well, right? So you've got, okay, I'm going from -4 to -3, and then from -3 to -2. And for me, that was my last pair of glasses, -2. I went from -2 to no glasses. But I had multiple pairs to get from the -4 down to the -2. So yeah, it'll be a combination of keeping up with your regular practices, maybe using some training glasses along the way. But really, I think it's good for you to set a general sort of goal in terms of like what you want to accomplish and when you want to accomplish it by, and yet remain pretty flexible with it, knowing that it may happen faster or it may take longer. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of up to you of how you want it to go, and it'll depend on your schedule and your availability and attention and everything. But, for me, getting from -4 to -2 took about 2 years. I also did not have a teacher at that time, so it may not have taken 2 years if I would have actually gotten some extra help. Richard saying, hey, there's Rich in Delaware. I stopped using contacts 6 months ago. Can't easily drive at night. What should I do next? Your book, your course. So yeah, I would say, that was the first thing I did. I stopped contacts, but I didn't just quit cold turkey. I didn't just stop using lenses. I still used my glasses, right? So hopefully you're still using your glasses to drive at night or to do those things where you can't see as easily during. It's not about just quitting cold turkey. It doesn't always really work. It's about using the right kinds of corrective training lenses as you get the improvements. And so, yeah, that is outlined in my book, Give Up Your Glasses for Good, and in my courses, like the Holistic Vision Program. It kind of walks you through that process. So I made the book for people who are more kind of, that's how they operate. They want kind of a written instructions and the workbook, follow these steps. And then I made the course for people who are more kind of visual learners and they want to actually see me demonstrate the practices and kind of follow along that way. So the course does come with sections of the book in PDF form. So you do get the writing, the written version as well. So yeah, either one of those would be a good option. But like I said, maybe we could also touch base a little bit about your strategy for not just getting off the contacts, but then how do you kind of wean down, the glasses as well. Cool. And seeing Giant type in again, like I said, I did already answer that question. And like I said, for you, I really want you to be focusing on relaxing and palming and just sort of the energy of the comments coming through. I'm feeling a lot of the strain and the suffering you're describing. So what you really want to do is take care of yourself and really know all you need to do is this. If you cover those eyes, get nice and comfortable, right? Because the mental strain that's kind of bouncing around in your mind is contributing to the different issues, right? So anything you can do to get that to calm down, and maybe it has to do with, doing some of the visualizations we did today, but maybe that's not the best fit for you. There's a lot of different visualizations out there that I would really encourage you to explore and try. Not only, you can go back and watch the replays of the previous palming parties that I've done, the last 4 of them, or, YouTube is filled with amazing guided visualizations and meditations and tools to really help you really kind of calm down and relax. And that's really when the healing happens. So really, really glad you're here today and sticking around and participating, and hopefully you'll have some takeaways to really help you out. Kizar was just asking about the course. How do you get involved with the course? That is through my website, integraleyesight.com/program. It's called the Holistic Vision Program. And it's kind of a standalone program where you get to kind of go through it solo at your own pace. So it's a pretty nice program there that really walks you through this whole natural vision improvement process. Awesome. Great. So yeah, that brings us to the end of our comments and the end of our palming party. Like I said, in a few months, we'll be having our next one to mark the end of spring and invite the new season to come, the summer. So, hey, Rayuga, tuning in from India. Thanks for tuning in. It's a little bit later there, so hopefully this will be a nice end to your Sunday and a nice transition into some sleep. So really, really grateful for everyone tuning in today, and keep an eye out for announcements about the future palming parties and some other, new interviews and podcasts and videos coming out. So definitely want to keep providing you with materials to support you on this journey. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Happy palming and gardening.